Picture this. You're a young scribe named Enlil Bani, barely 18 summers old, standing in the shadowed corridors beneath the great ziggurat of Babylon in 1750 BC. Your reed stylus trembles in your ink-stained fingers as you approach a chamber whose bronze doors bear warnings in 3 languages. Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian scripts, all proclaiming the same terrifying truth. Beyond these doors lies the sacred precinct of Ishtar's most forbidden rituals, where pleasure and agony intertwine like serpents in the goddess's embrace. The air grows thick with incense and something else, something metallic and organic that makes your stomach clench. You clutch your clay tablet closer, knowing that what you're about to witness and record will haunt your dreams for the rest of your days. Through the heavy bronze doors, you hear sounds that make your blood run cold. Rhythmic chanting mixed with cries that could be ecstasy or torment. The crack of leather against flesh, and underneath it all, a low humming that seems to vibrate through the very stones beneath your feet. Your master, the high priest Marduk Shapik Zeri, has chosen you for this sacred duty because of your steady hand and strong stomach. But as you stand here in the flickering torchlight, watching shadows dance across walls covered in cuneiform inscriptions, too ancient and disturbing for most scribes to read, you wonder if anyone could truly be prepared for what awaits beyond those doors. This is not a tale of simple human cruelty. This is something far more complex and terrifying. The systematic fusion of religious devotion, sexual practice, and ritualized suffering that define the darkest corners of Mesopotamian civilization. A world where the line between divine worship and human degradation was drawn not by morality as we understand it, but by the whims of gods whose appetites were as vast and terrible as their power. Before diving into these forgotten stories of survival and suffering, if you enjoy learning about the hidden truths of history, consider hitting that like button and subscribing for more content like this. And please comment below to let me know where you're listening from. I find it incredible that we're exploring these ancient stories together from different parts of the world, connected across time and space by our shared curiosity about the past. The chamber you're about to enter exists at the intersection of 3 powerful forces that shaped ancient Mesopotamian society: religious authority that claimed direct communication with the gods, political power that demanded absolute submission from subjects, and human sexuality weaponized as both reward and punishment in service of both. What happened in these underground chambers wasn't aberration or corruption of Mesopotamian values. It was their logical and terrifying conclusion. Your hands shake as you light a second torch from the first, knowing you'll need the extra light to properly record what you're about to witness. The priests have been preparing for tonight's ceremony for weeks, selecting participants according to criteria you don't fully understand but suspect involve a combination of physical beauty, social vulnerability, and astrological calculations that align with Ishtar's current position in the heavens. The goddess of love and war demands offerings that reflect her dual nature. Pleasure given freely and pain inflicted without mercy, often in the same ritual, sometimes on the same person. The bronze doors swing open with a groan that seems to echo from the depths of the earth itself. The chamber beyond is larger than you expected, carved from living rock and lit by dozens of oil lamps that cast dancing shadows across walls covered in reliefs depicting scenes that make your scholarly mind recoil even as your eyes are drawn to study every disturbing detail. Here is Ishtar herself, goddess of fertility and destruction, shown in poses that blur the line between divine blessing and cosmic violation. Her 8-pointed star symbol appears everywhere, worked into the very stone, as if the chamber itself has been consecrated through its architecture. The air inside is thick with smoke from burning aromatics, cedar and myrrh mixed with substances you can't identify that make your head swim and your vision blur slightly at the edges. This isn't just incense. This is a carefully crafted atmosphere designed to alter consciousness, to make participants more susceptible to whatever psychological and physical ordeals await them. The priests understand something about the relationship between environment and human vulnerability that won't be codified in medical texts for thousands of years. As your eyes adjust to the smoky interior, you begin to make out the chamber's true contents. What you initially took for elaborate furniture reveals itself as something far more sinister. Devices carved from wood and bronze, their purposes unclear but their design suggesting they were created to hold human bodies in positions that would maximize both access and helplessness. Some appear designed to display their occupants like offerings on an altar. Others seem built to create specific types of physical stress or discomfort. All bear the patina of long use and careful maintenance. The human occupants of the chamber move through their preparations with the mechanical precision of long practice. Priests in elaborate headdresses direct servants who arrange tools and materials with ritualistic care. But it's the others that draw your attention and hold it despite your desire to look away. Young men and women, some barely past childhood, others in their prime, all bearing the physical marks of previous ceremonies, scars that form deliberate patterns across their skin, brands in the shape of cuneiform characters, modifications to their bodies that speak of months or years of gradual transformation according to someone else's vision of what they should become. These are not prisoners in any conventional sense. They move freely within the chamber, assist with preparations, even seem to take pride in their assigned roles. But their eyes hold a quality you've never seen before, a combination of fervent devotion and barely contained terror that suggests their compliance comes from sources far more complex than simple coercion. They have been shaped by this place, molded by its rituals, until the distinction between participant and victim has become meaningless. Your stylus hovers over the clay tablet as you struggle to find words that will adequately convey what you're witnessing. The cuneiform script seems inadequate for describing realities that push against the boundaries of human experience. How do you record the sound of prayers that shift gradually from worship to pleading? How do you document the moment when religious ecstasy becomes indistinguishable from agony? How do you preserve for future scholars the sight of human beings transformed into living symbols of their God's most terrible appetites? The ceremony is about to begin, and you realize that everything you've witnessed so far has been mere preparation. The true horror lies ahead, and your sacred duty as scribe demands that you witness it all, record it all, preserve it all, for a future that may never be ready to understand what humanity is capable of when divine authority removes all moral constraints. The ceremony begins not with fanfare, but with silence so complete it feels like the chamber itself is holding its breath. The high priest raises his hands, and every sound ceases except for the soft crackling of oil flames and your own thundering heartbeat. You position your stylus carefully, knowing that what you're about to record will become part of the sacred archives, studied by future generations who may never fully grasp the reality behind your careful, cuneiform marks. What unfolds before you defies the neat categories your scribal training prepared you for. This isn't simple worship or straightforward cruelty, but something that exists in the spaces between such concepts. The participants move through sequences that seem choreographed by madness itself, their actions guided by traditions so ancient that no living priest remembers their origins. They speak in tongues that predate written language, their voices rising and falling in patterns that make your skin crawl even as they fill you with inexplicable longing. The chamber transforms around you as the ritual progresses. Shadows cast by flickering flames seem to move independently of their sources, creating the illusion that the carved reliefs are coming alive, that Ishtar herself is watching from every surface. The smoke grows thicker, more intoxicating, until you find yourself struggling to maintain the scholarly detachment your position requires. Your clay tablet feels impossibly heavy in your hands, each mark you make seeming to bind you deeper into complicity with what you're witnessing. The sounds that emerge from the chamber's depths challenge your understanding of what human voices can produce. Pleasure and anguish blend until they become indistinguishable, creating harmonies that seem designed to invoke responses from realms beyond mortal comprehension. You realize that everything happening here serves a purpose you're only beginning to grasp. This isn't random cruelty or uncontrolled excess, but a precisely calibrated system designed to push human experience beyond its normal boundaries. Hours pass, though time itself seems distorted in this underground realm. Your hand cramps from constant writing, but you dare not stop. The high priest's eyes find yours periodically, reminding you that your role here is as sacred as any other participant's. You are the witness, the recorder, the one who will ensure that these mysteries survive to serve future generations. The weight of that responsibility sits heavy on your young shoulders as you document practices that will echo through millennia. As dawn approaches somewhere far above this buried chamber, the intensity begins to ebb. The participants move more slowly now, their earlier fervor replaced by something that looks almost like peace. They tend to each other with gentle care that stands in stark contrast to the violence you've witnessed, binding wounds and offering comfort with the practiced efficiency of those who have shared this experience countless times before. The cleanup that follows is as ritualized as everything else you've witnessed. Every tool is cleansed and blessed, every surface purified according to protocols that transform even mundane tasks into acts of worship. You watch as evidence of the night's activities is methodically erased, leaving behind only the memories burned into your consciousness and the words pressed into your clay tablet. When the bronze doors finally seal behind you, the morning sun feels like a revelation after hours in that smoky underground realm. But the light brings no comfort, only the growing realization that you will never be the same person who entered those chambers. The knowledge you now carry changes everything about how you see the world around you, from the ziggurat's towering heights to the bustling marketplace below. Your fellow scribes will notice the change in you, though they'll never understand its source. The sacred nature of your assignment means you can never speak of what you've witnessed, can never seek comfort in shared horror or mutual understanding. You must carry this burden alone, just as countless scribes before you have done, just as those who come after will do in their turn. The tablet you carry contains more than mere words pressed into clay. It holds the compressed essence of human experience pushed to its absolute limits, preserved in cuneiform marks that future scholars will struggle to interpret. They will debate the meanings of your symbols, construct theories about the rituals you've recorded, but they will never truly understand the reality that gave birth to these ancient texts. In the end, this is the ultimate horror of what you've witnessed. Not just the suffering inflicted or the boundaries crossed, but the systematic transformation of human beings into instruments of their God's unknowable will. The chamber beneath the ziggurat represents the logical conclusion of a civilization that placed divine authority above human dignity, that saw mortal flesh as raw material for cosmic purposes beyond individual comprehension. As you make your way back to the scribal quarters, your clay tablet clutched against your chest like a shield against forgetting, you understand that you've become part of an ancient conspiracy of silence. The knowledge you carry will shape you for the rest of your days, but it will also isolate you from every other human being who hasn't shared your terrible initiation into the darkest mysteries of the gods. The sex torture chamber of ancient Mesopotamia wasn't just a place, it was an idea made manifest, a physical expression of what happens when religious devotion removes all constraints on human behavior. In those underground depths, the line between worship and violation didn't just blur, it disappeared entirely, leaving behind only the raw exercise of power dressed in divine authority. Your trembling hand finally stills as you reach your quarters, but the memories will never fade. You have looked into the heart of your civilization and seen what lurks there, waiting in the shadows of every temple, every palace, every place where power gathers and proclaims itself sacred. The horror isn't just in what you witnessed, but in the knowledge that it will happen again, must happen again, as long as gods demand offerings and mortals are willing to provide them. The chamber doors are sealed now, but they will open again when the stars align and the goddess calls for tribute. And somewhere in the depths below, in the darkness between torchlight and shadow, something waits patiently for the next ceremony to begin.